God is the author of our story, right? He is looking at the entire book. Let's metaphor our life is a book. We are bound within the page of the present day, while he wrote the entire story, the whole book. He is with us right now, right? As he is with us on our last day in our deathbed.
Amen.
Who better to walk you through your life than the one who wrote your story?
Oof. Hey, welcome young adults. Welcome to another episode of Adultish Podcast. My name is Danny and I get to be your host today. And today we have a special guest all the way from West Kendall.
That's right.
My dog, Andres.
What's up, Danny? How you doing, brother?
Good, bro.
Good to be here.
Yeah, for sure. We're just happy to have you here. And we're going to be obviously diving in a little bit on the series that we're in, Waiting Well. It's been an awesome series that we've been in and we've been studying and looking into it and how exactly we can be applying the scriptures that we're learning and the stories that we're hearing from into our life. But before that, I just want to kind of like just chop it up a bit and see what your life has been with waiting a little bit, if you can share some.
Absolutely, man. So just recently, by the grace of God, we closed on our house. Chloe and I closed on our house.
Let's go.
This past Thursday.
Finally, long wait.
Yeah, man, that was wait. It's a long wait. We started looking back in really last year, like the kind of the beginnings of it, but like really intently early this year. And it's been like more than half a year that we've been waiting. We've gone through so many different we saw so many different houses, put in different offers, and nothing was going through. I'm like, what's going on? But man, God really came through and just blessed us with where we're at now. So we're very excited, man.
No, that's awesome, and I know you've been waiting a long time. You've been sharing with the team and all that. We've been praying, and we're like, oh, come on, when is this house gonna come? And it's finally here today, and it's awesome. Share a little bit, like kind of like that joy of like after you wait so long and you wait well, like how that feels.
Yeah, bro, it's a joy, because there's a lot of houses that we're like, oh, this is gonna be the one. We can envision our life here. Chloe was super excited with one particular house. It was like super green outside. I thought it was ugly, but whatever. We were inside, it's a different story. And she was like, man, I really like this house. I really, we're praying about it and we're feeling like peace and whatever. And then it didn't fall through. It was funny because we even had like this really good rapport. The owners were there and we had like an hour just sitting down with them. We're like, bro, this is it. Like this is confirmation, right? But it didn't go through. And so we're like, what's going on? Like, is it just God's will for us not to have a home? But we stayed faithful, right? That was us. We realized that we look back now, that was us kind of pushing it, right? It was like, oh, we like this house because of all these reasons. We want to push it, right? Regardless of the fact of like, man, the budget really wasn't there. And so as we were waiting from then on, our heart posture changed. And we're like, God, if this is what you have for us, then we're going to let it be. We're going to trust in you. And then this other house came up, and we're like, we're not, whatever. Like, well, let's check it out, and we did, and kind of everything just worked. It just kind of flowed perfect. It was a smooth process, little bumps, but so much smoother than before. And that was really God showing us like, hey, this is what I have for you. Because there were moments where like, man, I don't think the budget's there, and then God like bless us with like money here and an income there and like a credit here, whatever it was, and we just saw really God moving. And then after we look back and we're like, man, what a joy it is to have waited for the place that God had for us, right? Because now we see the location that we want at the other place would not have worked well for us, right? Where we're at now is a blessing because we have so many people that actually live in the same community. Pastor Sosa's there, so it's like we're gonna be neighbors. So it's a lot of things that God showed us after the fact that we're like, bro, this makes sense.
After you waited and you were like going through the struggle, you finally got there and you're like, okay, now it makes sense.
Correct.
Well, that happens a lot of times when we wait for certain things. And one of the things that we talked about specifically in our series was about Abram and Sarai, like how they grew so impatient in their waiting season. Maybe you can share something like, it doesn't have to be necessarily with the house, right? I'm sure there was impatient moments there, but maybe something else, another area, maybe let it be a job or let it be ministry or let it be whatever it may be that you were waiting for, maybe marriage, right? Yeah. Whatever it may be, it's something that you grew impatient in, and like maybe you took an impatient decision and then you dealt with consequences after. Maybe if you can share something like that.
Yeah, perfect example. What comes to mind, I just talked about this yesterday on a young adult. So back this was, I'm going to date myself here, but this was like years ago, like 9 years ago, 10 years ago now, actually. I had been single for a while, right? And I met someone at work, and I was like, you know what, like. I felt in my spirit that this is not the right person. You know, I saw it then. Like I didn't notice that it was the spirit telling me, but I felt uneasy. I was like, this is not the right person. This isn't who God wants for me. And then when I introduced her to my mom, it was the same thing. She's like, I don't think this is like.
Oh, when
like,
mom says no.
Yeah, but as you know, as a good son, I ignored her her opinions. But you know, I jumped into it anyway. And I mean, I see then, like, bro, this was just like it was just downhill from here. I had never been further away from God, and it just led to this whole thing. But after all that, like, and that's another story. But after that, from the point that things ended there to the point that I married Chloe, it was 9 years. 9 years of just the season of singleness. And let me tell you, I did not wait well that whole time. You know, there were moments where I tried to take things into my own hands, right? There was like, you know, online dating. There was going, you know, all these different like things. And bro, falling into sin and just being like, oh, I got to take matters into my own hands because I don't want to be alone forever, right? Like, it was just, and I think that this is what a lot of young adults struggle with is like, I want this now because.
You get so impatient that they settle.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I did. I ignored all the advice that I was getting. I ignored the Holy Spirit, and I was like, no, I want this because I want this, right? It was a pride. Correct, It was a pride thing. But in that moment of waiting, it was rough, bro. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was rough. But over time, I see how God was so faithful in my life. He was molding me, shaping me, sharpening me to become the man who I am today. You know, and by the grace of God, like Chloe said, yes, right, and we're married, and it's been amazing. It's like I would not have been the husband that she deserves had I would have stayed where I was. God was that period of waiting, bro. I'll be honest. It got to a point, and I'm kind of all over the place with this, but it got to a point where I made this prayer. I was like, God, I was already like 30. I mean, imagine, bro. I'm like 30 years old. I'm like, bro, I'm going to die alone. Yeah. I was like, God, come on. Like, I've waited. Like, what's going on? It got to a point where I made this prayer. God, if it's your will for me to be single and alone, you know, not alone, but single for the rest of my life, then glory be to you. Why? Because that's your will.
Yeah.
I mean, Paul did it, right? And I read his story. I'm like, well, I mean, if I'm gonna be like Paul, I guess, you know, like, it sucks. I don't want it, but like, glory be to you, God, because that's your will. I put my desires aside, right? And I was like, God, I just want to follow you, bro. The moment that I like really prayed that, I saw such a instrumental change in my life, and then pretty much shortly after, like Chloe walked into the picture, and then things just, you know, progressed from there. But I think I know it started because it had to be that change of heart. But like, no, God, it's your will. I'm gonna wait and spend my time waiting and just be with you, my relationship with you, and then.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, for me, when I hear that, it's like I think every Christian can relate to that, right? When we're in the waiting season, it's like we have moments that we wait well, and then we're like, all right, God, the timer's running out. Yeah. Like, I need to make a decision. I need to move. I need to go. And in the waiting, I noticed there's two things, right? There's two types of waiting. There's the waiting that you're waiting passively, and there's the one that you're waiting faithfully.
Yeah.
So we have moments where we turn the gear on of waiting faithfully, and then we're like, all right, now I'm waiting passively. Because I believe that when we wait, there's still things that God is doing in us and through us that he has to do. So kind of just to pivot that in the aspect of still waiting for people, what are certain areas that you've seen in your life that you had moments of passivity, like you were saying, but more like maybe that you were waiting for something specific, and being faithfully waiting? Like, what are the two? I did this was the end result. I did this was the end result, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, if I'm understanding you correctly, bro, I for that passive waiting for me, I think was almost like giving up. You know, it's like, oh God, I know that you have a plan and you're in control. I'm gonna leave it to you, but it's almost like I didn't care what the outcome was. You know, because there's like a I think actively and faithfully waiting is when you have that hope, right? You're hoping for an outcome, but if it doesn't work out the way that you want, it doesn't make you like, you're not deterred, right? Yeah. You don't feel bad. You're like, okay, well,
we know God is in control.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference. It's like, well, I'm going to hope for this. I'm going to pray for this. I'm going to believe that I'm going to get this.
That's crazy faith.
Right. Exactly. And that's what God calls us to do. And so, and if it doesn't work out, then it's like, all right, no worries. Like, God, you show me then. You know, where you want me, or who you want from me, or where you want me to work, or what you want me to do. Like, you show me. I have this desire. I feel like it's come from you, but you know, we're not always right. So that passive, it's just kind of like, God, I want this, but I'm not gonna even work towards it. I don't even care. Like, I say it, but like, whatever.
It is what it is.
It is what it is, right? And I don't think that's right. You know, I think we gotta really trust in God and have that faith, that like you said, that radical faith, and be like, no, this is gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. If I share a little bit of kind of like what I recently just kind of, not a house, but I finally was able to, I was been waiting to get a new car, but I knew like budgeting and all those things were like, oh man, I don't know if I should. But I understood that there was a time that it became dangerous driving my car. Some people call it a beater. I called it a blessing. It lasted me a long time. So obviously when I was driving it to a point, I'm like, oh, it's shaking on the way to work. I'm like, I can't be driving this anymore. But God, still in the waiting season that I waited, every time I would get in the car, I'm like, God, thank you for this car. I appreciate it, because I don't want something just because I want it, right? But obviously there's moments that you look at other people's car and you compare the comparison of, while you're waiting for something, say for example, a spouse, right? You look at someone else that just got married and you go, oh, why do they get it? I want that.
Right.
You got me? So I had moments like that with cars. I'm like, oh man, this person has a car. I'm like, how did this person's younger than me? How do they have a car already? Like, how do they figure this out? But God has been faithful, and through that wait, now I'm able to actually, I didn't go in looking for that, but it's sort of like my dream car. It's a Tacoma. Like for me, I always wanted a Tacoma. I'm like, oh, and God opened the door to use Tacoma. That was able to, it worked out financially and all these things. So for me, it's like, oh wow, it was worth the wait.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In that aspect, but kind of that same mindset that we're in right now, that when people look towards other things that other people are being blessed with, and they get that envy or that jealousy or that, what would you say to a young adult that maybe is struggling with that, maybe with a personal story or just biblical?
Man, that's a great question. The key is knowing that you're not seeing the full story, right? God is like in this kind of, 1,000-foot bird's eye view. Like, right. Like, he sees everything. He sees all of time, while we're only looking at this moment. Yeah. So it's very easy for us to look around and be like, bro, like, but they have this thing. I've been working hard. Why can't I have what they have? And it's because God's timing is perfect. You know, I'll share with you personally. For me, you know, my parents were divorced at a I was very young. Okay, and I saw them both equally in their own life, like struggling financially. So I always thought, man, I don't want that. I'm gonna work hard, and I'm gonna get this job or this job, because I don't want to struggle financially, right? And so that's a prayer that I had for a long time. It's like, God, open up the door for this. Like, I'm applying to all these jobs, and nothing would go through it. The only jobs I would have were like these jobs where that they would pay like just enough for me to kind of survive, right?
Yeah, check the check.
Right, exactly. And I'm like, but God, like, why? Like, what's going on? And what God revealed to me in that moment when I was really praying about it was that, what if like, this is him like speaking to me, like, and I'm paraphrasing, but like, not that I audibly heard anything, but like what he put in my heart, right? He's like, if I were to give you this, right? If I were to give you all this money, this would change who you are. You know, if I was given all of this wealth, right, from whatever job, I felt like this fear of like, man, that's gonna turn me away from God, because I'm gonna make money.
Yeah, he knows you better.
Right, he knows me better. So I feel like he intentionally kept me from that, so that my focus would not be on the money, but on him. And I think that's the key, is understanding that we're not going to understand the why, and that's okay. I think we always want to know the why.
Like, why? Yeah.
We always want to know, like, okay, if you would just tell me why, then I'm okay. I'll wait.
With it, yeah.
Right. We don't always know the why, and we have to be okay with not knowing, but we have to trust that he knows. Bro, I would rather live under a bridge and have a strong relationship with God than live in a mansion and not know him.
Correct.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think it's just trusting again, bro. God knows what he's doing. And if he doesn't bring me a spouse when I want it, or the person that I want, or this job, or this car, whatever, trust that like in his perfect timing, he's going to bless you with what he knows that you need. And he knows our desires too. He plays our desires in our heart, the good, good desires. And so That's what I would say about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd say like even with that, jobs, right?
Yeah.
Jobs, like I think that's one of the biggest one. Careers, schools, right? We have a lot of young adults who are right now actually going to college, and they've made decisions to go out of the city or go to another state, let it be. But they have decisions to make, right?
Yeah.
So when would you know? Like this is me. I wrestle with this all the time with any decision I have to make. Obviously, leaning on God and trying to be God, like speak to me, you know, like tell me what to do, because you're waiting, and then there's a moment that you're like, okay, I have to make a decision, but is this God's will? Is it God's will for me to take this job? Is it God's will for me to go to this school? Is it God's will for me to marry this person, right? And we start complicating or wrestling with something that maybe God has allowed or maybe isn't from God, you know?
Yeah.
And they've been waiting and waiting and waiting. How would you give advice to a young adult who, let it be job-wise, right? Marriage-wise, finance, school, whatever it may be, right? The whole broad the spectrum, right?
Right.
What would that look like for a young adult? For example, I'll give you an example of mine right now. I need to move south. God bless. My wife works all the way north. I'm making right now 45, 50-minute drive. I'd rather make that drive. But to be effective at my job, I need to live closer.
Right.
My wife works north. So if I move south, she's going to be making that drive.
Yeah.
So we're praying and waiting on God to open a door for her more south.
Gotcha. Yeah.
My lease ends in a month and a half, literally.
You're on a tight, yeah.
So I'm waiting.
Yeah.
I'm trusting.
Right.
But
Okay.
now I'm like, all right,
It's time.
I gotta
Right.
find a place.
Yeah.
I gotta look for a place.
Right.
Lord, have your way with my
Yeah.
wife's job, and we're trusting
Right.
God to open a door. Let it be after we move in. Let it be the day we move in. Let it be a month after we move in. But in that moment, I have to make a decision responsibly as the man of the house. I have to make a decision. I'm not gonna be on the streets or moving in with mom or dad. You got what I'm saying?
Right.
So how would you be able to discern those moments?
Yeah. Great. Okay. Yeah. Great question. It's what you're looking for when you're praying, right? You're praying and you're praying, but I think what ends up happening often is that the idea of what an answer looks like should be like, oh, I'm just going to pray and God's going to put the answer in my heart, right? Or I'm going to audibly hear something, or I'm going to read a passage and it's like, okay, that's what the answer is. Could it happen that way? 100%. Like God can do what I can answer in whatever way he wants, right? But you know, a great study, experiencing God, bro, what I learned from that in our small group is that God speaks to us in many different ways. It's not just in the word and prayer, but it's in circumstances, it's through people. So, you know, I've been in situations like that too, especially with apartments, because you got to give them like a 60-day notice, like, hey, I'm going to be out. So it's like, you're really on a time crunch here. I get that. But it's like, okay, well, when you're looking for other places, right? Are they calling you back and they're like, hey, there's an available space here? Like circumstances like that. You put all that together and it's like, well, how is God speaking to me right now? Just through my circumstances. And oftentimes, bro, that's how he answers us. Is he showing us through that or through other people, right?
Yeah.
So when you're making those decisions, bro, 100% pray. You know, we always got to be in prayer. But look at your life. Try to just be as open as, like, broad as possible. Don't try to just limit as like, oh, I'm gonna find the answer within the pages of the word.
Correct. The thing is that I want young adults to avoid, the most important thing is the week one that we did in Waiting Well is literally like not dealing with the consequence of your impatient decision.
Right.
Because for me, like, that's my biggest fear in my life. It's like, I don't want to make any other impatient decision that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm stuck living here now and it doesn't even make sense. You got me? Like, those are the real things that I want. And what I ask God, like, if I share with you, like, what I ask God is like, God, just give me wisdom. God, give me wisdom. Give me wisdom. Give me wisdom to understand where to go, how to move, who to talk to, what to approach, like, what areas do I even look at? You got me? Like, in that whole aspect. So to pivot that, I know your story and job-wise, your career-wise is very interesting. You waited even in that a long time. Yeah. So can you share a little bit about that so young adults can kind of get something from that?
Yeah. So I had a job for like 8 years. I was there for 8 years, and you know, I was promised a lot of things. You know, like, oh, this is, you know, you're gonna get this, you're gonna go that, and I was very loyal. You know, nothing came from it really. Like I felt like I was kind of stuck in the same place. And it got to a point where I was like, man, I gotta dip, right? So I made the decision to just, I prayed about it, sure, but did I really weigh well in that moment? I don't think I did, right? So I just jumped into something else because I had a friend that was working there. And at first it was going well. But what ended up happening, like maybe less than a year later, is they were downsizing and I was let go. And at that point, I was like, man, I was like, bro, I was already paying rent. I had bills. Like this is tough, man. You got to understand that when you're not living at home anymore and you have bills to pay, when you lose that job, it's terrifying, and that's the position I was in. But
you were married already.
No, not yet. I wasn't
God
married.
bless.
No, yeah, I don't. That would have been a whole different story. But it was interesting enough. During that time, I was volunteering here at the church where I was volunteering in creative, and I never really thought about working at the church because again, seeing my parents struggling financially, I was like, no, I can't work for a church, but there's like pennies on the dollar, right? But I was, so I was just volunteering, whatever, and by the grace of God, they saw the work that I was doing. They liked the work that I was doing. They liked just my character and what I brought to the table. And they offered me a job. Like I told them, not that I was even asking. I think I talked to Steph and I was just telling her, it's like, hey, this is just happening, whatever. And she was just making inquiries and then they offered me the job here. And by the grace of God, I've seen so many doors open, not just in this career, but just in ministry that just came through that, right? And that it was in that time of waiting, right? We're talking about waiting well. From the moment I was like let go to that, I was trusting in God. It was weird because I've never approached something like that before. I was just like, God, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm not making any money right now. I'm struggling, but I have savings, praise God, right? But I'm going to trust in you. I'm going to look around, I'm going to apply, I'm not going to stress, and I'm not going to worry. And then it just came about. Like, again, I wasn't necessarily looking for it, but they just offered me the position. I'm like, well, that's God.
Yeah.
That's God. And that was because I was just trusting in him. I didn't see the story. I thought I was.
Yeah, it's the unknown. You're trusting God in the unknown. You're trusting God in the things that you don't know and you don't realistically plan, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's something important that we're seeing in the series, sort of like submitting ourselves to wait well is to abide in him, to be with him, to spend time with him. And something I find interesting for the young adults to take out of this too, in my life, what I've seen is like in the waiting well is where God has grown me the most. Mm-hmm. It's where he's grown my faith. It's where he's grown like my trust in him. It's where he's grown my patience. It's where he's grown a lot of areas of my life that I'm seeing, but I still focus on certain things. Like when I see things like we've had friends in ministry that we do with that have been waiting for kids, right? Like some of the young adults, maybe some of you guys are married right now, and maybe you're waiting for a child or waiting for a second kid, a first kid, or even let alone like Abraham and Sarah. They were waiting for one. They were promised a multitude of generations, and they didn't know what that meant, but they were like, at least one, That's why we believe they're 100 years old, Right. So even that, like waiting for a kid, do you have any experience with that? Are you waiting for a kid, or do you know anyone that is?
Yeah, man, I mean, in our own life, Chloe and I are waiting in the sense of we want to get situated first. I know everything's in God's timing. We don't want to just be like, no, it's got to be our way.
There's wisdom,
but, right? Yeah, I mean, we got to be responsible too, right? Like if we're not in a financial position to sustain a child or a place where we can have that space for one, there's a responsibility to a degree that we need to, let's work at this, right? And that's kind of like where Chloe and I are at now. Now, can it come about at any point? Sure. That's it's God's timing, and he's gonna provide the means in that moment for us to provide whether or not we think we're ready. But yeah, in our life right now, we're waiting just to. I mean, by the grace of God, we got our home, right. So the next step is that. But yeah, we're waiting well on God, and we'll see. We'll see what happens then, because maybe even though we're ready, we feel like we're ready. Maybe he's gonna have us, I'm still gonna want you to wait. It might be a few years. We might be trying for a few years. And it's like you mentioned, we know someone that waited a long time for that.
Yeah.
And man, it's a difficult, tough position to be in when you want something so beautiful like a child, and you don't understand why God is saying no. At least no for now.
No for now. Yeah. Yeah, the one thing we shared in the waiting well here at PB was that delayed does not mean denial from God.
Yep.
So that's something that I constantly look at, like in every spectrum of my life. I look at all of the things of my finances, my calling, right, my job, whatever it may be. Yeah. I'm always realizing that trusting God in His sovereignty, trusting God that He ordains all things. That's where you land at peace and going, okay, God, I don't know what's happening right now. Yeah. Like I shared with Pastor Gabe earlier. I was like, bro, I don't know how I'm going to move, where I'm going to move. I don't know, but I understand that my confidence relies on Him. Right. It leans on Him. And that's not because I figured it out. No, it's because I'd go crazy. I'd stress out. My anxiety would be through the roof if I try to fix it myself or figure it out myself alone without Him. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So one thing that I find interesting that we're also jumping into in this series is the life of David, right? Yeah. We see him waiting, quote unquote, on a job, but a calling, a purpose. Yeah. And we see him from a shepherd boy, then that gets to become the king of Israel. That was the end goal. That was the promise. That was the calling. That was the purpose that he had. Yeah. Talk about a little bit of maybe a young adult that is going through that process. Maybe they're in the shepherd boy season right now, or maybe they're in a season that they feel like they're getting persecuted and they can't find a job, or even in ministry. Some people that are called to ministry and they feel like, oh, it's never going to work out. God called me. I believe that God called me, and it's not working out. What's going on? How can you speak into someone like that and tell them, hey, look, like you're still in your calling? Because David, the whole time you see him, he's in his calling. Yeah. He's in his purpose. Yeah. He had to kill Goliath. God had him there for a reason. But he had to go through these processes and through these things in order to get to where God was preparing him for. Yeah. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it. I think you got to really just know that there's a reason behind it all. There's a reason that there's that moment of waiting. And it's like you said earlier, it's to build your character. Is for you to become who God has called you to be. So for those who feel like, oh, I'm called to ministry, I'm like, okay, well, you got to, where's your heart posture? You know, are you doing it because you want to be seen? Are you doing it because you know, whatever reason, you look in your heart and say like, why am I doing this? You know, for me, there was I always go back to my own experience. Before I was directing, I had a desire to lead at a higher capacity. I was serving at young adults, and you know, little by little, I was doing more and more, and it got to a point where I was like, man, I want to lead. Like I feel like God has called me to this, right? Desire. Right. And I was talking to Pastor Gabe, and I was like, man, I want this is what I want. Like I'm working towards this, whatever. And what he told me was something that I'll never forget. And it's like, are you already acting like what you desire to be? In other words, are you already acting like a director? Are you already acting like a shepherd? And I'm like, no, I'm not. I want this because for all the wrong reasons. You know?
Yeah, we think sometimes the title gives the value when we bring the value to the title.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And so that's how it was for me. And I'm like, well, I want this because, like, I mean, it just makes sense. If I'm doing all this already, I just want the title, right? Like I want to be, you know, and it was like, no, like do this because, you know, really checking my heart. And I was like, okay, you know, you're right. Like I mean, at first I was like, yeah, whatever, bro. But you know, in time, you know, that really spoke to me, and God moved in me and worked in me to the point where I was doing that. And you know what? I was content acting as a director without the title. I was like, this is enough. Why? Because I'm doing it already. I don't need a title. We don't need titles.
You were in your purpose. You were in your calling. Yeah.
Right. And it was, again, it's finally when you reconcile that and you're like, okay, like I'm good. Thank you, God. Then the door opened. It's always after your heart posture and you're really doing it for the right reasons, really doing it for God, that God's like, okay, now you're ready. Now you're ready. And then Gabe offered me the position. I was like, all right, cool. You know, like
I got you're good.
Yeah. And bro, and that's how it is right now, because you know, my desire is to be a pastor one day, and you know, I'm thinking a lot about it. At some point I was like, but I'm doing all these things, like I'm trying to be seen, I'm trying whatever, and I'm like, bro, am I shepherding people already? Yeah. Yeah. You know, am I living what it says in Timothy and in Titus? Yeah. The qualification. Yeah. Okay, I don't need a title. Yeah, I'm already living in what God has, you know, called me in my life or in my purpose. So, amen. So really, that's it, man. Like I think for any young adult who is looking for that in a ministry or in a job or whatever, it's like, man, just live and in what God has called you to do.
Yeah.
You know, and then he's going to place you where he wants, how in his timing and everything. It always just goes back to really that surrender and that release to God.
Yeah, and that's awesome, man. The way you place that, and for me, it even like fires me up when I hear you talk about that, because like we've had conversations about this multiple times. But one thing, like just winding down, sort of as a young adult, like you find yourself in so many waiting seasons, like you do, and that's I don't think that ever stops.
Yeah,
the waiting season. I think the waiting season continues as you get older, and it's more and more and more and more. What is something maybe you can leave the young adults with, and letting them know, like, during this waiting season, this is what I would lean on to. This is what I would do. This is what I would hold on to fast. Obviously God, but in the practical sense, what would it look like?
Man, that's an awesome question. What I've been doing lately, and that has really just helped me tremendously, is what you said, just abiding. Okay, it's like, yeah, we can just, we can say, I'm going to trust in God. It's easy to say that, yeah, God's going to take care of my needs.
To act on it, yeah.
Right, we got to act on it. It's like, bro, be in the Word, be in prayer, spend that time with Him, but intentional. Don't just be like, okay, I'm going to read. I'm like, all right, I did my checklist for the day, right? It's like, it's really intentionally having and building your relationship with Him, and that makes all the difference, because it's not you that's doing any change, but it's Him doing the change in you. He's able to produce that patience, and in our lives, and that leaves us with it being able to wait well. Because look, if you're focused on the thing that you desire and that you're praying for, and your mind is only on that, then your perception of time is gonna feel long, because you're just constantly thinking about the same thing.
Not only that, we can be idolizing the thing that we're praying for over Him.
Exactly. But instead, when you're focusing on Him and your relationship with Him, then waiting well is easy, because all you're focusing is on God, right? And you don't have to wait to be with God.
So worship while you wait.
Right. Yeah. You don't have to wait to walk with God, but you can walk with God while you wait.
Yeah, that's good. No, that's good. And I think honestly, bro, that we can be here literally all day and talking about this, but I think waiting can be such a simple thing, but yet such a hard and complicated thing for us as humans, impatient humans, maybe trying to be control freaks and try to figure out our things like that, all our life and all those things. But I think with anything that I would want to leave the young adults with is worship while you wait.
Amen.
Worship. I think worship is not only like obviously musically and like vocally and things like that, but with your actions.
Yeah.
Knowing that, like even me here right now on the podcast, do you think I know where I'm still going to move? No, I really don't. But I got a couple places I got to look at today. Yeah. But I'm trusting God that I'll be led to the right place. I'm trusting God that He'll lead me to people that will have a great price. God bless. But even that, young adults, we just want to leave you with that. We want to leave you that with worshiping in the wait is where we find peace, is where we find the tranquility to be at peace and be like, okay, God, you're in control. You are sovereign. You know it all. You ordained this, and I'm going to trust you in the wait. So if there's maybe a last thing, man, last thing that you can drop a nugget on them that maybe you've experienced with waiting well.
Yeah, man, I've said that, I've been saying this a lot often. God is the author of our story, right? He is looking at the entire book. Let's metaphor our life is a book. We are bound within the page of the present day, while He wrote the entire story, the whole book. He is with us right now, right? As He is with us on our last day in our deathbed.
Amen.
Who better to walk you through your life than the one who wrote your story?
Oof. The author, yeah. Well, guys, I mean, that's a mic drop for real moment. Young adults, we love you guys so much. Yeah. Continue pressing in, continue reading into the series and all the scripture that we're reading and waiting well. We love you guys. God bless. Take care.